Tonight, Nigeria will not surrender its sovereignty to International Criminal Court, says Minister of Information Lai Mohammed to critics of the federal government's policy on security. Former Vice President Atiku accuses the federal government of plotting to destroy legitimate businesses as he sells his shares in Integrated Logistics Services Limited. We continue our review of the various sectors in 2020, and tonight our focus is on energy. And UK court stops extradition of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange to the US based on concerns over his mental health and risk of suicide. Plus business, sports and international news.
On business news tonight, Naira strengthens by 4.1% at the investors and exporters window at the forex market following recent exchange rate adjustment by the central bank.
On sports news tonight, Uruguay Players Union calls on the English Football Association to overturn Edison Cavani's 3-match ban.
And from Abuja, Revolution Now protest leader Omoyele Sowore faces new charges as magistrate court remands him and 4 others in prison over alleged unlawful assembly.
We begin tonight with strong words from Nigeria's Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, to international bodies that have expressed their reservations over the government's handling of security in the country. The minister made it clear that Nigeria is not about to surrender its sovereignty to the International Criminal Court, or any other organization for that matter, regardless of the country's membership of any such body. The minister, who was speaking in Lagos today, says the action of the ICC is an attempt to demoralize the nation's security operatives.
We wish to reiterate that Nigeria is a sovereign state and will not surrender its sovereignty to any organization. ICC, Amnesty International and their cohorts should desist from threatening our troops and putting the security of our country in jeopardy. Enough is enough. It is sad that these organizations mostly rely on fake news and disinformation to reach their conclusions. As witnessed during the NSAS protest, Nigeria is not and cannot be a failing or failed state. Of course, you remember that for the past 2 decades or so, some pseudo-analysts have been predicting the country's implosion. That has not happened, and it will not happen, and it will not happen. Hence, they have found a new tagline: failing or failed state. It is all a ruse aimed at depicting Nigeria as being in a constant state of anarchy, just so they can achieve their nefarious objectives for the country. If Nigeria was not a failing state, when a large slice of its territory, equivalent to the size of Belgium, was under the occupation of Boko Haram, which collected taxes, installed and deposed emirs, is it now that no territory is under the terrorists that Nigeria will be a failing state?
Well, if there's one person who's not impressed with the performance of the current administration, it is the chairman of the Senate Committee on Army, Ali Ndume. In fact, the senator is asking President Muhammadu Buhari to reconstitute his cabinet if there is to be any meaningful impact in governance. Senator Ndume, who was speaking to journalists in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, also accused the government of not giving the military the necessary tools to fight the insurgency.
Mr. President should look at his cabinet, especially the Federal Executive Council. You are talking about those fighting war. What of those that are sitting down there? They are not connected. They are disconnected. They are not connected with the people. You have ministers that don't know anybody in their local government.
It's true.
But you people are not talking about them. I'm telling you, the Federal Executive Council should be reconstituted. In fact, that is the biggest thing. Let him bring in people that are connected to the people, the grassroots. You have ministers that last time when they say NSAS, you ask people to go and talk to their people. They could not do that. When we say the Nigerian army performed in Sierra Leone, Liberia, and all that, why did they perform? They have the good training, they have the resilience, they have the gallantry, but above all, they have all they need. The United Nations was providing them everything. They had their helicopters, they have everything, they had ammunition, they had everything. Here you are you can see that our Nigerian army are sharing ammunition. I don't know about you, I've been going around, except in Abuja, I have not seen so much of brand new AK-47 in the hands of our soldiers.
In another development, a former vice president of Nigeria and co-founder of Integrated Logistics Services Nigeria Limited, Intels, Atiku Abubakar, has sold his shares in the company. A statement by his media advisor says Mr. Abubakar took the decision because the Muhammadu Buhari government has destroyed the economy. The statement reads in part, co-founder of Integrated Logistics Services Nigeria Limited, Intels, Atiku Abubakar, has been selling his shares in Intels over the years. It assumed greater urgency in the last 5 years because this government has been preoccupied with destroying a legitimate business that was employing thousands of Nigerians because of politics. The statement further said the former vice president sold his shares in Intels and redirected his investment to other sectors of the economy for returns and creation of jobs. Meanwhile, Intels has denied owing the sum of $145.84 million, adding that it's pledged to pay the sum of $55.70 million as revenue for the period from November 1st, 2017 to March 31st, 2019 was predicated on NPA's payment of $19.67 million. NPA has, however, denied that its actions was politically motivated and stemming from the feud between the presidential candidates of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, who is a shareholder in Intels, and the President, Muhammadu Buhari. The National Identity Management Commission is urging Nigerians to be patient as they would all be registered before the deadline. The Commission has also adopted booking process for all enrollees with the aim of complying with the COVID-19 protocols. According to the NIMS's General Manager, Special Duties, Musa Mishila, the new system is yielding results.
Queuing in their numbers, the prospective enrollees for the National Identity Number are back to the Commission on the first working day in the new year. They have come from different parts of the Federal Capital Territory to get registered. The enrollees queue up at this point for a special number that would help them gain access into the building for the registration process. Noticeably, COVID-19 protocols are fully complied with. A total of 1,000 enrollees have been booked so far for capturing.
Nigerians don't come out in good time, and that is why you see these crowds here. So what we are doing, what we have adopted now, we are issuing them with number. As we speak today, we have issued number to over 1,000. And some of them are expected to come back in February. This is why we stopped for now. And the reason for giving the number is to reduce the crowd so that we'll comply with the COVID-19 protocols.
Some enrollees describe the process as cumbersome.
So some of us have been under the sun for some time, and it's not quite encouraging looking at what is happening presently. And you know definitely that the weather has a kind of effect on our health.
I actually think that this should be done in a better way. Maybe we can go digital on this. It will be more convenient for everyone. Like, I filled my form and I'm still here waiting for the next process. It's so exhausting, and as you can see, the crowd here is so much. So you don't even know when it's going to get to your turn, and you don't know if you actually have to come back here. And some of us have different things we are doing, and we just laid off today just to achieve this, and it's almost sounding like it's impossible to do this today.
At this rate, many here are optimistic that they may get registered before the deadline of January the 19th, 2021 for telephone subscribers with NIN and February the 9th for subscribers without the NIN.
Meanwhile, the story is different in Lagos, as enrollment centres in the state are still crowded, with many complaining that the process is far from being seamless. And with the federal government's new policy indicating that the national identity number is required for replacing lost, stolen or damaged SIM cards, the number of applicants at different centres have also increased. Our correspondent Dari Idowu reports.
Day after day, registering for the national identity number doesn't seem to be getting any better. In Alausa, the Lagos State seat of power, and where the office of the National Identity Management Commission is situated, applicants clog the entrance, and everyone appears to want to get it done and over with. But it's never that simple. Crowd control is still a problem, and obviously COVID-19 protocol is not top of mind.
They did a mistake. They now know that I'm a man, very close to 60. He registered me in everything correct. When he want to put where he's supposed to put male, he put female.
There have been constant allegations of extortion, but paying as high as 15,000 naira for a correction on your date of birth is official.
At the end of it all, they said there's a mistake, there's error on date of birth. It has to be corrected. Okay, fine, correct it now. This is the system. They said I need to pay 15,000 naira into a remitter.net account. I don't understand where that account is.
The crowd at the local government in Agege is clearly as agitated as those in Ikeja. They are frowning at the slow pace of the process.
The person that is attending to us is just only one person. Look at the crowd. We are many here. Just only one person attending to all these people here. He's just collecting like 2 forms, 3 forms, taking it there. And he has left us since to 12. We've not seen him again.
The federal government had initially approved some centers and state institutions to conduct enrollment to ease the pressure on NIMC. For these applicants, paying 3,000 naira to this vendor to avoid the queues and drama is its only option.
I actually paid 3,000 naira to fill the form, and they said I should come back on the Thursday for capturing. Friday I will get the NIN and return. I just complete my process of getting the SIM back.
Riddled with hiccups and sometimes misinformation, many applicants are yet to properly register, but the National Identity Management Commission says 50 million Nigerians now have the national identity number. Dari Idowu, Channels Television News.
To the courts now. The All Progressives Congress, the APC, has closed its case of alleged certificate forgery leveled against the Edo State Governor, Mr. Godwin Obaseki. At the resumed hearing of the suit before a federal high court sitting in Abuja, the plaintiffs concluded their case with a cross-examination of an expert witness, Mr. Raphael Omuzligbo, a retired assistant superintendent of police and a forensic document examiner. In his testimony during cross-examination by counsels to Mr. Obaseki and the PDP, the witness says the University of Ibadan logo on Godwin Obaseki's certificate appears to have been compromised. He also insisted that the signature of the Vice-Chancellor of the university was missing from the certificate, not because the document was poorly scanned, but that it was actually missing. Lawyer to the APC, Mr. Akin Olujimi, insisted the testimony of the witness further proves their case against Mr. Obaseki, as Justice Ahmed Mohammed adjourned further hearing until January 5th, 2021. That's tomorrow, to enable Mr. Obaseki and the PDP open their defense. In part two, after the break, we have more on the review of the energy sector in 2020, which is where we're going tonight. We'll be joined by an energy consultant, Mecca Oluwola. Join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us to watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Nigeria will not surrender its sovereignty to International Criminal Court, says Minister of Information Lai Mohammed to critics of the federal government's policy on security. Former Vice President Atiku accuses federal government of plotting to destroy legitimate businesses as he sells his shares in Integrated Logistics Services Limited. We continue our review of the various sectors in 2020. Tonight, our focus is on energy. And the UK court stops extradition of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange to the US based on concerns over his mental health and risk of suicide. Metering gap and metering supply have continued to plague the Nigeria electricity sector. In 2020, the federal government released only 1 million meters for Nigerians out of the 6 million promised, leaving many registered under the estimated billing regime. But electricity tariff was a major feature of the year, not just in the electricity sector, but also in the oil and gas sector. On our sectoral review tonight, our energy correspondent, Olu Phillips, brings a look into how the sector fared in 2020.
Electricity supply in Nigeria has for a long time remained a thorny issue, a continuous talking point, and one that has sharply pitched consumers against providers. Without boring you with all the technicalities that compose the sector, the huge sums of money budgeted and supposedly spent in dollars versus its inability to deliver or otherwise, it is simply to say consumers, Nigerians, want more energy supplied to them. While operators want the right pricing and payment for the products being delivered and demanded, call it cost-reflective tariff or the argument by consumers to have more before they can pay more, the sector needs common grounds. Two big interventions in the year under review is the federal government's decision to supply 6 million meters free of charge to the unmetered consumers over an 18 to 24 months period. Of that number, only a paltry 1 million has been activated, and that is to be shared among the distribution companies in Nigeria. A most recent data from a quarterly report of Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, first quarter of 2020, shows that the number of unmetered customers in Nigeria is more than 6 million, standing exactly at 6.245916 million Nigerians. This indicates that a total of 245,916 power users may not benefit from the free 6 million meters that are planned for distribution by the government, and probably the 5 million that are not captured for the first initial installment by the federal government. Secondly is the cement deal, a government-to-government agreement between Nigeria and Germany worth 2 billion euros. The cement deal, a three-phased plan and proposal, will deal essentially with improving transmission and distribution infrastructure across the country, an endeavor which will see Nigeria with a capacity of 25,000 megawatts of electricity by 2025. Current distribution supplies still hovers between 4,000 and 4,000 megawatts. We are not discussing the devastating effects of COVID-19 on national economies, but it is safe to say it did hit a money economy like Nigeria. Oil and gas is Nigeria's revenue earner, so that while we were at the first OPEC meeting in March of 2020, global crude oil price had taken a hit, tumbling to about $47, forcing member countries of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, recommending to the 8th OPEC and non-OPEC ministerial meeting a further adjustment of 1.5 million barrels per day production cut until 30th of June 2020. Back home, we raced against time. An opportunity presented itself in the potential of gas development, expansion and utilization. Two major milestones emerged from that. A perfect synergy between the Minister of State for Petroleum, Tim Silva, and the Group Managing Director, NNPC, Malamele Kyari saw the auto gas initiative essentially unveiling cars and passenger vehicles that have been converted from engines running on petrol to auto gas or LPG and CNG. Nigerians kicked at the new pump price, which moved from about 121 naira to its present 162 naira per litre. The auto gas initiative under the National Gas Expansion Program became therefore FG's response to jumpstart alternative fuel use. Next is the Integrated Gas Handling Facility, Ologbo, in Edo State, a wholly owned Nigerian plant handled by the MPDC, the exploration and production arm of the NNPC. However the pendulum swings, Nigeria should continue to pursue aggressively its gas development, as gas was not significantly affected by COVID-19 in terms of income. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
Olu Phillips joins us now to talk more about the sector and all the goings on in the year 2020. Olu, great to see you. And what a year it has been, a year of electricity supply in Nigeria. And I know Nigerians have a lot of stories to tell. A lot of investment has gone into this, and you did a lot of reports on electricity supply, which is the bulk of your report tonight, electricity supply in 2020. So much investment has been made into this, and it seems like we really haven't gotten anywhere.
So the truth is that Nigerians must begin to understand that the business of electricity isn't as simple as plug and play. So when investments go in, you have to give it a lot of time for gestation. That's not making an excuse for the federal government, because remember, there are also 40% shareholders in the privatized sector, of course. So it means the federal government owns 40% in the discos. Howbeit, from end-to-end description of whether from the generation down to the distribution companies, what we need to understand is that until you pay, for instance, for your consumption, the transmission company, the generation company, the gas person, and all of those sectoral units do not get paid. So when gas is generated, supplied to the generating company builds and generates power, pushes that to the transmission pushes that to the distribution finds a way through inefficiencies and all of the things they've tried to do to get you supply, whether you are remotely located in Borno State or remotely located in Yanopaja or you're in the mainland. They have to distribute this power. They have to collect this money. When they collect this money, they now send it back. Now, be that as it may, investments have gone in, and that's because we're coming from a period where it was government-owned to privatization, which is just about 7 years now.
Which is supposed to be better anyway.
It should be better, but I think what has happened is that we should have been seeing a situation of more commercialization rather than just the party of a privatization, because there's a broken trust. For instance, if you ask the transmission company of Nigeria, they will tell you the problem is the disco. If you ask the disco will tell you it's the transmission. If you ask the generation will say we have about 13,000 megawatts of capacity, but the transmission can only wheel 5,000. And transmission will tell you we are pushing about 4,000 plus to the distribution companies, but the distribution companies don't have enough strength and muscles to collect that. Now, that's because from the beginning to the end, it is not a completely privatized system that allows you to put your money and make business. So, for instance, in Egbe Power, for instance, that generates over 1,000 megawatts, that power has to be put to the transmission station or lines, and it travels as far as Maiduguri, sometimes before it comes back to Lagos. So what we should be thinking about is to have embedded power whilst we are discussing or thinking about energy mix. So there's no reason why places like in the up north shouldn't have the wind power, shouldn't have the solar power. Where you have in the south, where you have enough gas, let's have enough gas thermal, and embedded in such areas that in such a way that I can generate, I can transmit, and I can distribute. In doing that, you will have catchments of areas where you don't necessarily need to rely on the transmission before power can be circulated. And that's why it seemed at some point, the federal government just said, you know what, enough of all of this. They signed a government-to-government agreement with Siemens to improve transmission and distribution. Now, there is a kind of foisting on the distribution company to say you have to align to these G2G agreements. So Siemens will provide all of this capacity, the backbone, the funding with just 15% from us, and make sure that we get power the way it should get to people. And hopefully 2025 is not too much far from now. We should have 25 megawatts.
2025, that's a long way ahead, Olu. But thanks for laying the foundation for us tonight. We'll be talking to your guest, Mecca Oluola, a bit later. But thanks again, Olu, for bringing us up to speed on this. We'll be examining your report a bit further. And that's right. When we come back after the break, joining us will be energy consultant and managing partner, Naira consultant, Mecca Oluola. He joins us from Lekki, Lagos. Plus, Revolution Now protest leader Omoyele Sowore faces new charges as magistrate court demands or remands him and 4 others in prison over alleged unlawful assembly. Join us again. Welcome back to the News at 10. Our focus on the energy sector as we're reviewing 2020 continues tonight. Joining us now is energy consultant and managing partner, Naira consultant, Mecca Oluola. He is in Lekki, Lagos. Mecca, thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
Thanks for having me.
And I'm sure you were listening to the conversation I was having with Olu Phillips, my colleague, about how much investment has gone into the electricity sector, electricity supply in Nigeria, why this is still a problem. And I see that we're still maintaining a huge monogrid system that's been canvassed as with having high failure rates. It may not be good for a country like us. So why is Nigeria still maintaining this system, which clearly is not working?
So, Amarachi, the issues are multifarious, and sometimes, is political in nature because, unfortunately, sometimes the courageous decisions that need to be taken by government many times are not very popular, So, there's that dig dong between how much laxity and flexibility should government give to private, investors, to bring about their know-how and fully liberalize, the value chain. So you see government still holding on to certain strategic aspects of, the distribution chain, in their wisdom regarding what they think, is best for the country in terms of, supply security and stuff like that. So I think until, we come to the point where, we're ready and prepared, to take the very tough decisions, that we need, to open up the market entirely and get, government out of the business of running any business enterprise in Nigeria. We'll still be running, around in circles, whether it's power, or oil and gas. Okay. So you can see that in all the sectors of the Nigerian economy, the only areas where you have, a large percentage of redundancy, a large percentage of inefficiencies are those, that are being run by government. So there's, for example, going back to your point, there's really no reason why even, the transmission aspect of the value chain is not fully privatized, So we'll continue, in that mode, running a monogrid system until, the government, deems it fit, to completely let go of running the power sector. Yeah.
And speaking of oil and gas sector, it appears the main challenge is a complete deregulation. It's even becoming more challenging with the NNPC still importing finished products from outside the country. Are we really serious about deregulation?
So sometimes, the signals that we send are somewhat conflicting, as to the seriousness of government. I think to all intents and purposes, to a large extent, yes, we want to liberalize to deregulate, the downstream, sector of the oil and gas industry. And this has been something that we've clamored for since 2005 consistently. And, there's a movement in the right direction. So it's not all gloom. We've seen at least some decisions that were taken, last year, to deregulate, I call it a quasi-deregulation because you still have some element of price control there. If you fully deregulate, you won't have uniform pricing of pump price at the pump price across, the country. because you can't get the product, at the same price of not as it is where the judges are, But like I said, we're moving in the right direction. Gradually, things are taking shape. We've taken the few, very strong steps that we need to. But government, has no business bringing in products. We've seen the times that government has done it and the issues that we've had to go back again due to, the construct of the government and the inefficiencies that exist, when government tries to do these things, So we're going to see back again, come back to the private sector, in a couple of months from now, It's just a ding dong and the yo-yo that we're used to in the industry now.
Meka Olowala, thank you for joining us tonight. You have successfully analyzed, two sectors, two-in-one sectors, energy, oil and gas. Thank you for joining us on the News at 10 tonight, and hopefully the government is listening as we look forward to a better Nigeria.
Thank you.
I'm going to toss it over now to Linda Akigbe in Abuja for more on the News at 10. Hi, Linda. Great to see you.
Hello, Amarachi. Welcome to Abuja. The Chief Magistrate Court in Abuja today, on resuming from the Yuletide festivities, ordered the remand of a leader of the Revolution Now group, Mr. Omoyele Sowore, and 4 others in Kuje Correctional Center. The 5 men are facing a 3-count charge of criminal conspiracy, unlawful assembly, and incitement following a protest organized during the New Year crossover. Chief Magistrate Mabel Shegun-Bello, while ruling on an oral bail application of the defendants, ordered that the defendants be allowed access to medical attention and a lawyer of their choice.
The convener of Revolution Now, Mr. Omoyele Sowore, is back in court, this time before a magistrate court on fresh charges. On arrival, security operatives escorted the defendants into the court for the arraignment. A 3-count charge of criminal conspiracy, unlawful assembly, and inciting public disturbance is read to the defendants, and they all plead not guilty. With the plea taken, the defense lawyer applied for their bail, but the application was opposed by the prosecutor on the ground that the investigation is still ongoing. Ruling on the bail application, the magistrate insisted that the defendants must file a formal bail application, and she ordered them to be remanded at the Kuje Correctional Center. The prosecutor explains the charges against the defendants.
We have a case, and the truth of the matter is that today is the first sitting day of court in FCT after the break, and that is exactly in line with the constitutional provisions. We have to come to court, and we are here. And they were being charged for criminal conspiracy, unlawful assembly, and then inciting public disturbance to the extent that somebody is calling that there should be a change of government.
Lawyer to the defendants argues that the police have no case against his clients.
Some patriots between the 31st of December and the 1st of January 2021 staged a peaceful protest around Gudu area, and then they were rounded up and arrested and taken to the notorious SAS abattoir, where they were brutalized, tortured, and serious injuries were inflicted upon them. As I speak with you, Mr. Omoyele Sowore says he has a broken nose.
Sowore and 4 other defendants were arrested in the early hours of January 1st, 2021 at Gudu district for allegedly inciting the public against the federal government at an unlawful assembly.
And police authorities in Ogun State say its men have arrested 3 brothers for killing a security guard at OGD Estate in Ashero area of the state capital, Abeokuta, on Christmas Eve. The State Police Command explains that the incident happened when Okuki Muleru, who is a commercial cyclist, was denied entrance into the estate for carrying more than one passenger, contrary to the rule of the estate. According to him, this infuriated him, and he called his two brothers, Michael and Joseph Muleru, who came to the scene, and they jointly attacked the two security guards with planks. And in the process, one of the security men slumped, after which he was rushed to a private hospital where he was pronounced dead. Meanwhile, the State Commissioner of Police, Edward Ajogun, has ordered the immediate transfer of the case to the Homicide Section of the State Criminal Investigation and Intelligence Department for further investigation and prosecution. And as official activities resume for the new year today, the Rivers State Governor, Nyesom Wike, began his official activities with the inauguration of some infrastructure projects in the state. The special guests at the commissioning and Governor of Bauchi State, Senator Bala Mohammed, applauds his Rivers State counterpart for being daring in both infrastructure development and speaking truth to power, in spite of whose ox is God.
It is the first working day in 2021, and Governor Nyesom Wike kick-starting the year with the commissioning of road projects. The first in line is a 10-kilometer road linking several agrarian communities in Sime, Noah, and Kira in Tai local government area of the state. This is coming barely 10 days after the governor commissioned 9 roads under his urban renewal agenda in Port Harcourt and Obiakpo local government areas. The Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed is here to honor his guest and inaugurate the road. He commends Governor Wike's daring disposition in project delivery.
Here is a Nigerian, a governor, who has been able to deepen leadership recruitment by bringing people of capacity, and even the contractor, a local contractor bringing local content. This is the kind of Nigeria we need tomorrow. People who can lead and bring people on board with quality and capacity.
For Governor Wike, he reiterates his commitment that all contracts awarded by his administration will be completed before leaving office.
So I thank all of us, and I thank the communities for supporting the contractor to complete this road on time, because it's for your own benefit. I have told most of our boys that when there's a project going on in your community, you own that project because it's for the interest of your people.
It is the expectation of every community in Rivers State to have an access road like this, even as Governor Wike is promising to do more for the people.
And that's all from Abuja. Back to you, Amarachi.
Thanks a lot, Linda. And back here, time for business news. Here's Anne Mawodo.
Thank you, Marachi. Hello and welcome to Business News. Nigeria's local currency, the Naira, has firmed up to 4.1% to 394.30 against the dollar today at the investors and exporters segment of the foreign exchange markets. And this is coming after the central bank adjusted the exchange rate at the Nigerian autonomous foreign exchange window from 394 to 410 Naira on December the 31st, 2020. However, the local currency was flat against the dollar at the parallel market at 470. Meanwhile, analysts are expecting that the adjustment of 10% exchange rate by the CBN will give a boost to non-oil exports and to oil inflow converted into Naira at the I&E window of the forex market. And talking about the central bank, it has directed mobile money operators to maintain a minimum 2 billion as their minimum capital base. A statement from the CBN released today by the financial market regulator says the new policy aligns with its commitment to promote a strong and credible payment system and authorize the operators to hold customers' funds under its new licensing framework. The CBN further says that all payment service providers and stakeholders are required to ensure strict compliance with these requirements and all other payment system regulations. Now let's head to the local market where trading resumed from the New Year holiday with a strong start for the year 2021. The all-share index hit the 41,000 level, and that's for the first trading day of the week. Let's hear more from Ekaite Afia.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for the Stock Market Report. The impressive performance recorded in the last trading sessions of 2020 on the NSE did not go with the year, as investors extended a hangover of bargain hunting into the start of 2021. And with that resounding bellow, the raging bull charged its way further into the positive territory, pushing the all-share index higher by a whopping 2.18% into the 41,000 level. Now, the strong start on the first trading day of the year, which is attributed to gains from 32 equities, indicates how investors' interest for the domestic bourse is expanding, particularly after it recently gained its status as the world's best performing stock market. Now, let's take a look at the sectoral performance chart. You can see that all the 5 major counters of the equities market, in particularly the industrial and banking and insurance sector, posted remarkable gains, which drove the market overall value higher by 459 billion naira. Now, although the volume of shares transaction was not too significant at 211.92 million units, traders say they expect the turnover to improve upcoming days as they anticipate an influx of more investors who will be seeking better options for their returns on their investments. Well, that's all for the Stock Market Report. I'm Ekaite Afia.
Thank you, Ekaite. On the other hand, it's negative start in the new year for U.S. stock markets after investors started with sell-off amid concerns about global coronavirus cases and the Georgia runoff elections. Let's see how all with the markets end. Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. It's back to you, Marachi.
Thanks a lot. And still ahead on the news at 10, UK court stops extradition of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange to the US over his mental health and risk of suicide. That's from the international scene. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news at 10. The UK has announced new lockdown measures to curb spread of the coronavirus. According to Prime Minister Boris Johnson, everyone in England must stay at home except for permitted reasons. All schools and colleges will close to most pupils and switch to remote learning until the middle of February. He has urged people to follow the rules immediately amid surging cases and patient numbers. Meanwhile, a London court has ruled that WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange cannot be extradited to the United States because of concerns over his mental health and the risk of suicide in the country. For more international news, here's Simon Pusey with Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. A UK patient has become the first man in the world to receive the AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine. Brian Pinker is the first recipient of the newly approved Oxford University jab. Around 53,000 doses are initially being rolled out to 6 hospitals in the UK. It is the second vaccine to be rolled out in the country after the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine on December the 8th. The UK has secured 100 million doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine as part of its contract. So far, around 1 million people in the UK have received the Pfizer and BioNTech vaccine. Meanwhile, the UK Health Secretary has said that the country might enter another national lockdown in order to curb the sharp rise in coronavirus cases.
Virus continues to spread.
Matt Hancock has hinted that the entire country could be moved up to the highest level of restrictions within 24 hours. The UK has recorded another 54,990 people testing positive for COVID-19 in the country, marking the 6th day in a row that new cases have exceeded 50,000. Mr. Hancock said these measures are necessary as the NHS is under significant pressure. A UK judge has ruled that Julian Assange cannot be extradited to the US, citing mental health concerns. The WikiLeaks founder was indicted in 2019 on 17 counts of violating the Espionage Act and faces up to 175 years in a US jail over the charges. The 49-year-old Australian has been accused of illegally hacking into US government websites and leaking documents containing logs on the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq in 2010. The ruling is considered a major victory for Mr. Assange in the legal battle that has lasted for more than a decade. US authorities are expected to appeal the decision, and they will have 15 days to do so.
And we will have to fight this fight.
Sudan, Egypt and Ethiopia have all agreed to hold more talks this month over the disputed Nile Dam. The three countries will hold more talks in a bid to resolve their long-running dispute over the Addis Abeba's huge dam on the Blue Nile. The negotiations have been centred on the filling and operation of the giant dam. Key questions have remained about how much water Ethiopia will release downstream if a multi-year drought occurs. Egypt fears that Ethiopia's dam will severely cut its water share, while Sudan hopes the dam will help reduce flooding, but it has also warned that millions of lives are at great risk if no agreement is reached. Iran has told the United Nations nuclear watchdog that it plans to breach the 2015 nuclear deal. The country has resumed enriching uranium up to 20% purity at its Fordow plant, a level it achieved before the 2015 accord. The deal's main goal has been to extend the time Iran would need to produce enough fissile material for a nuclear bomb. The move has come in response to the killing of the country's top nuclear scientist, which Tehran blamed on Israel. And finally, one sector has been boosted by the coronavirus pandemic: cosmetic surgery in South Korea. The number of procedures done during the pandemic increased last year thanks to the face mask mandate and widespread work from home policies. The ability to recuperate at home and wear a mask in public without drawing attention have been deciding factors. Cosmetic surgeons have said that patients are interested in all parts of the face, especially the ones where bruises and swelling can be covered by a mask. South Korea is considered the world capital of plastic surgery, even during non-pandemic times. The industry, which has seen a year-on-year 9.2% increase, is estimated to be worth around $10.3 billion. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Olumide Macaulay standing by with sports news.
Thank you, Amarachi. Hello and welcome to Sports News. We start with football. Wiki Tourists of Bauchi and Plateau United played out a goalless draw in match day 2 of the Nigeria Professional Football League played this evening at the Abubakar Tafawa Balewa Stadium in Bauchi. Both sides are still without a win after losing their opening fixtures. Nasarawa United beat Wiki Tourists by 2-1, while Plateau United was stunned at home by Kwara United 2-0. Plateau are 17th on the NPFL log with a point from 2 games, the same with Wiki Tourists. Uruguay's Players Union have joined forces to condemn Edison Cavani's 3-match ban for using a racial term and accuse the English FA of committing a true discriminatory act by punishing the Manchester United striker. Cavani was hit with a suspension after using the word negrito in an Instagram post after the club's victory over Southampton on November the 29th, before taking it down and apologizing. Now, the United forward, who was also fined £100,000 and ordered to complete face-to-face education, accepted his punishment, but insisted he was expressing himself according to his culture and way of life, and that the post was intended to show affection towards a friend. The FA said last week that Cavani's comment was improper and brought the game into disrepute, but the Uruguayan players have banded together to slam the reprehensible decision to discipline their compatriot. Meanwhile, Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola has defended Benjamin Mendy after the fullback breached COVID protocols on New Year's Eve, saying the Frenchman's critics were too quick to pass judgment. Mendy has apologized for flouting rules by hosting a party attended by at least 3 people outside his household. Under British government rules, those living in regions with Tier 4 restrictions are not allowed to mix with others outside their own household.
No, I'm not justified. He broke the rules, So he cannot do it. He cannot do it. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not justified. But don't give too much lessons to the other ones, you know? The society always will judge the other ones and give lessons to the other ones and not put examples for the players, football players, a big example for the society. Society, a big example is everyone at home, for our fathers, mothers, our people, do what you have to do. Of course, it was not correct what he has done, but don't judge him much, because if you look at himself, what we have done in New Year's Eve, many people, so maybe they're doing the same.
Finally, and away from football, the Australian Formula One Grand Prix in Melbourne looks set to be rescheduled from its season opening slot to later in the year due to the pandemic and a tightening of local quarantine rules. Tickets for the March 21st race at Albert Park are yet to go on sale. Construction work to erect fences and grandstands around the temporary street circuit will normally start by the end of the month. Last year's Australian Grand Prix was called off only hours before first practice was due to start when a McLaren team member tested positive for the virus. And that's it on Sports News. Amarachi, back to you.
Thanks, Olumide. And the main news again. The Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, replied the critics of the federal government's policy on security, and he said the country will not give up its sovereignty to the International Criminal Court. And a UK court today stopped the extradition of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange to the US because of concerns over his mental health and risk of suicide. That's News at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubadi. Good night. Stay safe.